Hi guys, how are you? I hope you're well. I am well myself. My name is Wanyiha Jindut and I am blessed to be here. I welcome you all, and I keep forgetting to address the issue of subscribers. I'm so grateful for the guys, or for you guys who are subscribing. If you do this, and if you do see this and you haven't subscribed, please do. We are almost at 1,000, and that's just, amazing, right? It's taken us a long time, embarrassingly long, but we thank God. In fact, we are grateful so much. We meaning me. Yeah, I'm very grateful, and I have noticed this growing number of Zimbabweans who are following this channel, and I'm so thankful. I'm so grateful. And I feel like we have so much in common. And let me tell you guys a funny story. So if you've listened to these stories, you know that my grandfather disappeared during the state of emergency in Kenya. And so my great grandmother was always searching. Yeah. So through different means, seers, medicine men, the people who could help. Yeah. One time, and I don't know where this story came from, because I was talking to my mom about it and she said, I've never had such a thing. I had somebody say that it was so torturous to both my grandmother and my great grandmother, because somebody said this man was found in Zimbabwe, like he was seen to be in Zimbabwe. Okay, so perhaps he was taken there, traveled there. I don't know how, but if that is the case, then we have a link. Anyway, for some reason, I don't know, in the past like 3 months, I've heard things about, Zimbabweans, the Lemba in Zimbabwe as the Levites, of Israel. And it was so, it's actually amusing, yeah, that we discuss these things, and then I see all these Zimbabweans loving on me, commenting, following. I love you back, and I'm so grateful for you guys. I'm just hoping that if my grandfather found his way there, I pray that he was happy and, he had a long life, yeah, that would be so cool, yeah, even if he never came back home. So I know I started this playlist for the wives seeking after God's heart, and it's been a bit challenging to add material there, just because I don't want this to be like for particular people, because we still have a lot of work to do as far as altars are concerned, and this can also be watched by men and all of that. I just know that some people are so particular that if they find a new video, they will go under the playlist to just see who it's addressing. Yeah. So I don't want it to be like strictly for ladies at this point. I do feel like there's a time that is coming that will share just amazing details, as far as relationships are concerned, or marriage, as it is, or God's way. And let me tell you, there's a time I was teaching about relationships and marriage in the Broken to Whole FB family. Let me tell you, that was the hardest thing to do, And at some point, I just admitted that, you guys, I'm just, in the process of restoring our marriage. We didn't even know where we were at, yeah, but things were feeling so good. I didn't even feel like I had the authority to talk about marriage, because it was just so new. I'm learning new things. I'm, just getting, just seeing the wonders of God, and also just, there's this thing because we as people imagine big, yeah. Even now, when we are talking about breakthroughs, some of you don't even imagine you'll have to go through a process. Some of you have like major debts, and you're thinking, God will do a miracle. I just know God will do a miracle. And you don't know that God will take you through learning about how to, understand finances, build slowly. Even if he will give you a quantum leap, so much so that you're able to pay your debt, he will want to see that you're actually paying those debts. Yeah. So building a great foundation with your finances before you get increments. Yeah. So it is being faithful with this little things that will usher you into this greater thing. So if he gives you a quantum leap, of finances, and you have all these debts and you have all these dreams, still he wants to see that you're following some instructions, that you've learned something, that now you want to employ discipline. Yeah. So the waiting may be long on every particular thing that you're waiting on. Yeah. For some, it will be marriage. Yeah. Maybe you feel like, I've achieved everything in life except marriage. God, I want a good man. Yeah. And then, I hear these aunties in weddings, they say, today you're not getting a wife. You're getting, material. So, Shona, so your own wife, yeah? So it is, like the onus is on the man to make sure that his wife is settled, and happy in his home, So it is everything that this man has built, physically, spiritually, in himself, that will, inform what kind of a home he will create. I love this thing and this knowledge. I don't know where I heard it, but it says that the man sets the pace for his family, okay? I don't know why it would be such a huge burden. I just pray every day for the men. And as a mama to boys, you can imagine, I keep checking, like, do they have everything it takes? Yeah. Although love carries people, I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. You could be thinking, this boy is so smelly. Are you even keeping your hygiene? But there's a girl who loves him to death. Yeah. So love will do that, and love will keep surprising us. Love will keep opening our eyes through the generations. Yeah. So even when you don't think your child is ready, you find that somebody loves them into this great station in their lives. Yeah. So you have to believe that love is it's man, love is everything. I love how Jesus used to emphasize, that the greatest of all these commands is love. You should love one another. Yeah. Because love, what do they say? Love covers a multitude of sin. Isn't that beautiful? And I'm just noticing this thing. Whenever I go to a new place, I collect red things. Yeah, just to eliminate. When you go to a new place and you're like, I'll collect something and bring back. So we've reduced all our travels to getting a red thing and a fridge magnet in a different, town, so that we can put all these magnets and be like, we've been here and here and here, and I'm thinking, if you're in Orlando and watching this, send me a fridge magnet. If you're in Dieppe, should go back to Dieppe to collect. All I'm saying is, things don't have to be expensive. Travel doesn't have to be expensive. Love doesn't have to be expensive. We imagine and we build so much, we plan so much, but God actually knows what is the best thing for us. So seek his kingdom first, and the rest, he will be added unto you, okay? So today I wanted to talk about marriage as a package, yeah? And I have intimated, especially when I was talking about witchcraft. And you guys, if you watch the series of the altars that you were fighting, just know that everything I came and poured out, will be addressed and stretched out and explained. And, we are going to build on those things that we mentioned, yeah? Because a lot, was on the surface, yeah? And it's like just coming out with these things, I needed to just point all these things out. So we'll talk about witchcraft. Yeah, it's something that has to be addressed, because for everything that you get that is a gift from God, you guys already know that when God gives you something or creates something in this world, or gives it, out freely, there's a counterfeit from the kingdom of hell, right? Let's call it hell, but it's this evil kingdom, right? There's a counterfeit that is created to just bring confusion in the thing that God creates. Now, when you think about like the Garden of Eden, so God creates this woman from this man's rib, yeah? So they are so one that you can't even imagine how can this one be, you know, go away, be separated. Yeah, but God is building this person with all these you know, facets. Yeah, so as much as these people are one, this man is supposed to do all these things. He already knows, you know, when you know, he's put in this garden, he's given the authority, the power, the dominion to name, you know, these animals, these trees, you know. So God says, I've given everything. Yeah, in this garden there are herbs for your diseases. Yeah, so stretching into all these generations, even to us, right? So if whatever we ever study, everything already exists. Yeah, so there's nothing new in this world. And then he brings this woman who is supposed to be a helper, right, a supporter. You know, you imagine like this great image that God had. And I see it in kingdom marriages where this woman is just following this guy, you know, adoringly. But then when she comes into her power, not comes eventually, like in her power, she's something else. Yeah, she's a pretty great and strong column. Yeah, but I like this joke that people say when you're traveling with your wife. I think it's men who came up with it, or women, I don't know. When you're traveling with your wife, it's like she loses all her ability to think. Yeah, she's using your brain, and then you see her in operation and you're like, who is this, you know? You guys already know. You already know, and you already know how you relax when you get around your husband, because you're like, he'll handle everything. Yeah, so maybe that's the scenario God wanted, but also now making these people equal. I think in Genesis chapter 2 it talks about how God made this man and this woman equal. Yeah, so that they are able to operate greatly to just, you know, bring continuity, or just, you know, do his will. Okay, so anyway, marriage as a package. Okay, so this man is created for this woman. Yeah, and the same. Yeah, so this woman is created from him, and that is why we talk about, you know, you marrying your rib, right? And then you realize that something is clashing. Yeah, and then you start doubting, is this really my guy? You know, is this it? And that is why the subject of altars comes in so strongly, because before you there were others, you know. And what happened there? You know, what happened to create you know, to bring all this confusion, to bring all this mess, you know? Like in Genesis, I love you know, thinking about this chapter. In Genesis chapter 1 verse 1, the Lord created the earth, so everything was good, right? And then in verse 2 it says, now the earth was dark and murky, you know, and but the Spirit of God hovered over the surface. So this is all to say, or saying this to say, when God created the earth, or when God created your marriage, right, he had this thing where everything is complete, everything is beautiful. You guys have come together now. You're two. You're not you know, you're two, and you can help each other in this thing. Yeah, so he gives you a package of a marriage where there's blessings, there's provision, blessings in terms of children. Yeah, so there'll be continuity, there'll be enlargement. Yeah, it's just the same way you put a seed in the ground. You put 2 seeds, and in this stalk, maybe it's a stalk of maize, you know, there'll be so much that you get from these cobs. Yeah, so if it's like depending on the type of plant it is, or type of maize it is, or corn, you find that it is yielding in a certain manner. Okay, so it yields after its own, you know. That is why we have genetics and everything. So your people will be like your people, the genes, everything matches, right? Anyway, so it yields so much from each seed that is put in the ground. There's so much yield. Yeah, so when you guys come together, there's just so much. Yeah, even when you don't see increment in the physical. Yeah, so God is doing this great work of knitting you together, you know. And maybe he gives you blessings that you do not consider blessings at some point, because you're like, okay, we are getting all these children, what are we going to feed them, right? And you don't know that there's a set time for you guys to be increased in so many ways. Yeah, so the beginning is so tiny, you know, and we are told not to, you know, not to be scornful, like there's a different word, but we are told not to despise the small beginnings. Yeah, but instead, you know, in time we get restless. You're like, I need more, right? You're asking for more, you're asking for more duty, you're asking for more, to be entrusted with more, because you feel like you're ready and willing and able to handle more, right? And this more is gonna come, right? But it's a process, because before God gives you something, he has to create the capacity in you, okay? So the process that you see, where you don't have that thing yet, it is the time that God is creating capacity in you. Because as much as we know ourselves, and that capacity already exists. Like, you can tell, I can do more, I want more, I can handle more, but there's so many things that God has to work out. So even when you don't have the knowledge of what is hindering you or holding you back, or what is, the cause of this delay that you consider delay, but it's actually God now processing in the time that he has given you. Now, I've told you that we've been in a 21, spiritual battle, right? In every, now this is something I've discovered like over the years, and I was like, oh my God, why didn't I see it clearly? Yeah. So like every 7, at the beginning of every 7 years, God gives us work to do. Okay. And this work gets increasingly harder to a point where you're like, oh, I've failed so much in this time, but you don't see the end of it, right? So I've failed so much in this time. I've not expanded how I expected. The vision is not coming to fruition, and perhaps you even wrote that vision down, which is very important, but you don't see it coming to fruition. And you're so frustrated. You're like, now what? Okay. So I'm going to leave this thing. Yeah. And some things really actually fail, some things die, and this is a process in John 10 where God is pruning you of everything that shouldn't come to, to this point with you, yeah? So even when you're multi-talented, you're a jack of all trades, there are things that God is, removing, so it narrows down to the very thing he wants you to be doing, okay? So he may expose you to all these things so you may learn, because all these things are very important in your particular journey to where you're heading, okay? But you're heading to one destination, okay? I know you may think, okay, I want to be in all these places. And yes, you may get that, but there's a destination where you're headed to carry out your purpose or to find your destiny, right? So there's a destiny that God has in plan for you. And while you're, walking towards it, there's so many things that will be, so many curveballs, yeah, so much, that you may have to go through, but you will find that in all these years, you're building something, okay? If it is children God gave you at the onset of this beautiful thing, you find that there are all these, childbearing years, where you get your babies, and you may want so much at that point. You may want to give them everything, the world and all of that. But God has set you in a, certain manner, because there are things that he's doing. Sometimes we know, sometimes we don't, right? But that is why God exposes us to all of these people so that we may learn, right? So I want to just encourage you and tell you that God has a plan, a grand plan for you and your family. And so that is what you should consider when you're in this place, because now what God is doing and what was ruined when people were worshiping other gods was the fact that, for everything to happen, God begins it with the family, right? So like we see Adam and Eve, right? But the devil would not let them be. He had to introduce his trickery. That will happen in every, situation. I don't want to call it normal. Like that is normal. It will happen because as you come into your blessing, you'll find that what is actually normal is you having ease, that whatever you touch, works out. Yeah, it's turns to gold, right? And you find all this multiplication. You find that you decree a thing and it happens because your mouth is everything is blessed. Your land is blessed. It is like a Deuteronomy 28 situation. You do not struggle even to obey God because there are no altars, speaking against you or causing so much struggle and confusion. You are able to just operate with ease, right? So that is coming. In every situation, yeah, because God promises that if a man is, faithful to him, is, in search of him, so it doesn't matter what is speaking against you, even though there are all these situations, yeah, but if you choose him, he he's not going to shame you. Yeah, your hopes will not be disappointed. Yeah, and even though sometimes waiting is the hardest thing, sometimes we wait with so much entitlement, like, oh, I see what you're doing with for others, why are you not doing that to me? And we don't know what is holding us back. Okay, so look into your own situation, study to show thyself approved, not just this book of scripture, but look into your family and see what is happening. You could be the the exception in this thing, and you could see your life just working out differently. And even with that, you will see how the altars of your family will react to that. Okay, I like how I was listening to Stephanie talking about how in some families, when you bring this man who will like help you break all these altars, you see that your family reacts a certain wild way to them. So it's like they're clinging to him like a savior, or they're hating him. The altars are using these people to like, no, we don't want this kind of man. We are not used to this kind of thing. This man is this or that. Yeah, it's like the altars are like, they know this is the savior. This is the guy who is going to bring so much difference. So like they want to corrupt all this or send him away. Like this guy will go through so much just so that he doesn't stay, right? And that is what the devil wants, that your man doesn't stay, so that this woman is forever crying. Yeah, but God's plan is to establish families, because it is through these families that godly children will arise. Okay, so many things will be thrown at you, especially when you start a marriage. Yeah, you may look at this thing and think, this is so small, what could the devil want with this? Let me tell you, it is so big. In the spiritual, you're a giant, because you're starting something that God actually reveals in. Yeah, he wants this to happen. He loves marriages. I don't know if you guys have ever seen how God always, brings a miracle, causes a miracle to happen when people are having a wedding. There'll be rain in the morning and guys are like, oh my God, everything will be ruined. And then you see some sun coming, like it's beautiful. It turns out to be so beautiful, even when there are so many challenges. Sometimes you're starting without money and you're like, how will we even raise this? How will we pay for this? And then God comes and makes it so much grander. If you've seen such miracles in your family, in your marriage, or as you are starting to come together, do not discount all this. In fact, get a journal and write wonderful things about your marriage, and write your vision, because though it tarries, wait for it. It will come to pass. Okay, God is very intentional that he supports you through this. Yeah, you may have to fight some altars, but in the end, he will repay you. Okay, there will come a time for recompense, and God doesn't joke around. Yeah, in the Gikuyu community, we say gaida daridero, oh, God doesn't love jokes and he doesn't have jokes. So if he's using you for a particular thing, especially you who is coming into this family as, a married girl, yeah, you may find some challenges, but watch, yeah, and make your mom-in-law a friend, because you're going to learn so much from her. Just be very observant and watch, because there are so many things she knows, because she came just like you into this family, and in due time you'll notice what was actually hidden there, and what God will make happen. Yeah, you don't have to, sometimes you even stay away and you still learn. Yeah, so just be smart about it, and I know that God will guide you in each and every one of these things. Yeah, it's going to be great. Mbele kuko sawa. Okay, I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.